the majority of Iran's highly enriched uranium is at Isfahan?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I think this is the consensus in general in the community, but also I should point out that Iranians themselves are of that opinion. The material was in its, as you say, large percentage was stored there on June 2025 when the 12-day war broke out.
With fresh disclosures about Iran's nuclear material, will Trump and Netanyahu now consider decisive next steps? As the nuclear watchdog identifies a key storage location, where exactly has Iran kept its most sensitive enriched uranium? With the IAEA chief making strong claims, how much of this revelation is verifiable and how much remains contested? Why does Isfahan emerge as such a critical node within Iran's nuclear infrastructure and strategic planning? And following Putin's unexpected offer to step in, will Washington recalibrate its approach toward Tehran?
What involvement does he want to have in the Iran situation?
He told me he'd like to be involved with the enrichment if he can help us get it. I said I'd much rather have you be involved with ending the war with Ukraine.
Iran's enriched uranium stockpile has come under renewed global focus following a major disclosure by the UN's nuclear watchdog. According to reports, a significant portion of Iran's highly enriched uranium is currently stored at the Isfahan nuclear facility. The revelation was made by IAEA chief Rafael Grossi during an interview with the Associated Press. In that interaction, Grossi stated that Iran consolidated its uranium stockpile at Isfahan before the 12-day conflict in 2025.
The majority of Iran's highly enriched uranium is at Isfahan?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I think this is the consensus in general in the community, but also I should point out that Iranians themselves are of that opinion. The material was in its, as you say, large percentage was stored there on June 2025 when the 12-day war broke out. And it has been there ever since. Of course, I must say that we haven't been able to inspect or to recheck that the material is there and that the seals, the IAEA seals, remain there. I hope we'll be able to do that. So what I tell you is our best estimation. We continue to get some information, but it is also very clear that we haven't been able to resume our normal inspections there.
Grossi also indicated that satellite imagery reviewed by the agency showed visible impact from strikes in and around the Isfahan site. He is now pushing for renewed IAEA inspections at key nuclear facilities, including Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. The nuclear watchdog chief further suggested that both Tehran and Washington may still be interested in reaching a negotiated agreement.
Last year was very substantive, very open, and very clear for everybody to see. And this time around also, there have been some hits, although not as intense or as last year. There has been some on the margins, if I can put it like that, of the perimeter of the compound, because it's a compound. We must understand that when we say Isfahan, it's not one place. It's a site which contains a number of buildings, facilities, tunnels, places where they were working on different activities related to the nuclear fuel cycle. We have been in discussions separately with Iran and with the United States, but not participating in this new round of negotiations which started a few weeks ago in Islamabad, in Pakistan. This for a reason, because there are a number of issues which are being discussed, as you know, the Strait of Hormuz, freedom of navigation, the ballistic missile situation with other armed groups in the region. And the nuclear is of course, at the center. After all, this has happened allegedly because of the nuclear program, but we expect, as you know, we were present in the last cycle of negotiations in February of this year. And I expect normally to be re-involved or re-engaged as the process comes closer to maturity. It used to be a site where we were, and very intensively so, I should say, we were inspecting regularly on a routine basis. The IAEA inspectors were there performing inspections. But then happened what happened. So Isfahan and its future, I guess, at least at the moment, is part of what is being discussed. First of all, is for Iran. If you're asking the question, for Iran. Well, for Iran, Iran has to be convinced that it is important to negotiate. They say that they are willing to do so, and so does the United States. President Trump has repeatedly indicated his will to do it. Where the frustration kicks in, apparently, and apparently for both, is that they do not seem to come to agreement or to be on an eye-to-eye level on what needs to be done first or how. So I think as a negotiator, as a diplomat, as a man of peace, I always like to try to see the flicker of hope in any of these things. And one important thing is that there is apparently an interest on both sides to come to an agreement. But of course, there are many moving parts to it, and they are all in their own right very sensitive, as we are saying, the Strait of Hormuz, what is happening there, and so on and so forth. Well, there has been some contact, quite informally, but I wouldn't count that as a part of a formal process. But we have been in touch in some ways.
These remarks come at a time when negotiations between the United States and Iran remain at a complete standstill. On April 27th, Russian President Vladimir Putin offered to store Iran's enriched uranium as part of a potential diplomatic arrangement. Putin made the proposal during a high-level meeting with Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Russia. U.S. President Donald Trump is reportedly displeased following Russian President Vladimir Putin hosting Iran's foreign minister for high-level talks. The U.S. leader is also said to be dissatisfied with Iran's latest proposal regarding a potential agreement with Washington. According to a U.S. official cited by Reuters, Iran has declined to engage in discussions on its nuclear program until the conflict concludes. Reports further indicate that Tehran has linked any future negotiations to resolving key disputes involving the Strait of Hormuz and Israel. However, Trump is reportedly pushing for immediate engagement focused specifically on Iran's nuclear activities. The U.S. president is said to have conveyed to his advisors that he wants Iran back at the negotiating table without delay. This comes despite Trump having canceled a planned second round of talks that was scheduled to take place in Islamabad. On April 27th, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi made a significant visit to St. Petersburg in Russia. During the visit, Araghchi held discussions with President Vladimir Putin on the ongoing conflict and the role of the United States. Putin revealed that he had spoken with Iran's supreme leader in the previous week. However, the Russian president did not disclose specific details regarding his conversation with Mojtaba Khamenei. Moscow has also indicated its willingness to mediate between Iran and the United States to facilitate a potential agreement. Additionally, Russia has reportedly offered to store Iran's enriched uranium as part of a possible diplomatic arrangement.
Last week I got a message from the Supreme Leader of Iran. I would like you to convey my most sincere words of gratitude and to confirm that Russia, same as Iran, intends to continue our strategic relations. We see how courageously and heroically the Iranian people are fighting for their independence and sovereignty. Of course, we very much hope that, based on this courage and will for independence, the Iranian people will, under the leadership of a new leader, make it through this difficult period of trials and that peace will follow. From our side, we will do everything that is in your interest, in the interest of all nations in the region, so that peace is reached as soon as possible. You know our position very well.
I was asked to confirm during this visit that Russian-Iranian relations is a strategic partnership and will remain that way moving forward. It was proven that Iran has friends and allies, such as Russia, who stand by Iran during difficult times and support Iran. We thank you for FAME position in support of Iran.